So as some of you have seen, I have once again resorted to posting low quality videos for some time, and of course, once again, I have a reason. You see, it's because I'm currently working on making a game. Yep, I've decided to finally do something with my lazy ass and decided to do a little bit of programming. Of course, Renpy, which is the programming language which I'm using, is nothing compared to the oh so glorious programming language of Python, which is what I was proficient at before. However, summer break was basically just me reading books, watching anime, watching Better Call Saul, feeling depressed all day, so I just kind of forego everything. Now, Renpy is a programming language which seems to exclusively work with just visual novels, so your average anime dating game that you're probably going to find tons of and you're never going to play because the majority of them are bad. Now, this isn't necessarily bad. For example, Renpy was the software that was used to make Doki Doki Literature Club, which, as we know, is a pretty darn good game. But of course our game is going to be nothing like that, because first of all, I'm garbage at programming. I'm pretty sure the guy that made Doki Doki had funding. I don't. Don't quote me on that though. But anyways, before I show you what I've been working on, we first need to talk just about a little something that you might seen before, which we like to call variables. Now, if you ever done any sort of basic middle school education, then you most likely know what variables are. They are a symbol or a placeholder that holds any sort of mathematical information such as a number or equation. Don't quote me on that. In Renpy, it works very similarly. For example, we can define a variable, which in this example would be x, to hold information such as what is a character's name, what is the in-game images that it will use, and what is the text color. All of this can be defined in a variable, which greatly speeds up the process of making interactions between characters in game. And it also allows us to use a little trick. Instead of having to specifically type the image which you want to show again and again and again, you can instead, as you see in this example, simply type show, which allows the image to be shown, the character's name, and then the emotion which it feels. You can also add a little side to the beginning so that we get this cool effect where the character will be displayed in a little window over here. Although for that to happen, you will need to resize a separate image called side, the character's name, and then the specific emotion you want to portray. All of that might have been a little complex to some people, but don't worry, it only gets worse. Now, the GUI is probably the biggest pain in the ass to work on while programming this game, because while some parts are as easy as simply opening up Photoshop and adding some cool shapes and effects to make it look nice, in other aspects it's a complete piece of shit to work on. For example, when you first make a project in Renpy, the game is going to look like this. Alright, now if you want to change the background, you would simply replace the background image in the GUI folder with whatever you like. Okay, nice, it already looks better. But this sidebar on the left looks kinda ugly, no? Well, this can be solved by going into Visual Studio, which is the software you're gonna need if you want to program this, and then simply turn off the sidebar. And to that, well, you're gonna need to search for the line GUI/overlay/main_menu.png, and then turn it into a comment by adding a hashtag to the beginning of it, which pretty much just tells the code, hey, this isn't actual code. This is just personal notes for me. Anyway, after the sidebars, and then after that the sidebar's gone. Okay, great. Now repeat that step of finding what you want to change, looking for it in the code, and then changing to values until voila! It looks good. Your main menu is pretty much done. And you still have a whole other page to work on. Not to mention that brand new text box that you worked on, well, the text is not fitting inside of it, and the character's name is, well, not fitted correctly. Repeat these steps a bunch of times and you'll finally have something that looks playable at best. Anyway, the fonts are a complete pain in the ass. Make sure not to be like me and choose colors that don't clash and just blend into each other, because I did, and oh boy, they're not fun to work with. Anyways, we have our variables and our GUI done. It's finally time to work on the actual script of our game. Well, that would be the case if we had our sprites and backgrounds and music and sound.
I tell you a story, floating on the moon.
Both of these are similar enough that we can just kind of put them in the same category, but don't be fooled by this. Audio is a pain in the ass to work with, and images are a tricky thing to make look good. Anyway, all you basically need to know is that if you have a 1920 by 1080 game, then you can either just draw the character in any way you like in the canvas of the size with a transparent background, or you can write a weird ass fanfic and instead download any character you want online by downloading whatever format of that image exists, opening it up in Photoshop, making the background into a layer, removing that background, resizing the image to make it the correct size, and finally, save it as a PNG on your images folder. See, wasn't that simple? Now, of course, just a little side note, get it? If you are working with a little icon on the side here, then you are going to need to create a separate image with side in the beginning, as I said it before. Of course, this isn't necessary, but if you want your game to just look a tiny bit better, then I recommend using side images. Now, background images work similarly. You just need to download whatever online image you want that is the size of your game screen, download it and put it into a folder. Tell the code to show it, and bam, your game now has a background. Now on to the audio. Audio, for some reason, in Renpy can only be used in an OGG file, which, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know existed before I worked on this. So have fun converting all of those files you have onto OGG files with whatever online converter you find. Anyway, after that's done, you get those files and put them into an audio folder. However, you have a choice of going just one step above the rest and creating two separate folders called music and sound, or how many more folders you want, with whatever names you want, to specify wherever they go, just to make it more organized. Although remember, you're gonna have to tell the program about these folders by specifying where they are, because surprise, surprise, the code doesn't know where they are. And watch out for misspelling. It can save you over 30 minutes of messing with code if you just pay attention to what you write.
When I hear the clock, it's ticking, talking.
Now, I will tell you about how changing scenes work, how menus work, and all of that shebang, but I thought it would be interesting to turn this into a multi-episode series. Maybe it's going to be around 2 or 3 episodes long each, not being that long, but hey, it is what it is. Anyway, if you want to see progress of this game I'm working on called Men Stars, you can visit my page on GitHub and see some sneak peeks, I guess, of the game and how game progression is going. Next week I most likely won't upload part 2 of the series, but instead working on another gameplay video, which is nice, I guess. But anyway, see y'all next time.